Hey everyone, my name is Mishal and you're watching Mishal's Law Series. And on today's episode, we have Stuart Southall with us. He is head and partner at KANGS Solicitor of Commercial Litigation. It's an honor to have you.
Hi.
We will be asking him 5 questions related to the legal profession, and let's see what he answers. So, my first question is, how important is networking in the legal profession?
Networking in the legal profession, in my view, is important for all levels of lawyers. Obviously, the more senior you get, the more important it is because you're reflective of your firm. You need to bring in your clients, and you need to ensure that everybody in the firm has work to do. But across the board, networking is something that every junior lawyer should be doing and continue to do. Frankly, it's a really important skill. It hones your social abilities. It hones your ability to sort of represent yourself and your firm, and then it progresses your general knowledge of meeting people. And look, networking is not a 5 minute thing. It is a case of establishing yourself, getting your name known, getting yourself recognized, and then eventually those relationships, depending on the area of where you work in, of course, um, those relationships take time to build. But if people the law is a service-based people industry, okay? And in my experience, I found that if people can't relate to you, doesn't matter how great a lawyer they are, they're just not going to want to work with you as a client or as a professional. So, in my view, networking is very important for all levels of lawyers.
I completely agree. My second question is, how do you deal with difficult clients?
How do you deal with difficult clients? With a lot of patience, frankly. Um, Look, again, depending on the areas of law that you work in, as a commercial litigator, people come to me when they have a problem, and I have to try and resolve that problem. And look, civil cases are always about money, and I generally find that there's three different sort of levels of money that people want, and part of the skill that you have, which is why, again, networking is very good because it hones these skills, is you have to be able to explain what is very complex law in a very simplistic manner to a client so that they understand what their risks are, what their merits are, and how you get there. And most litigation is about a resolution, it's a compromise. And really, to do my job effectively, clients have to feel a little bit disappointed because, let's say their claim is for £500,000. Their opponent says they don't owe them anything. Can you get somewhere in the middle? You know, they get positivity because they get a payment, they know the certainty, but the disappointment, and this is a sort of strange answer, but actually, really, to do your job properly, everybody has to feel a little bit disappointed because there's a compromise. The law a lot is about compromise and negotiation and about commerciality. And that's where really the disappointment arises. But also they get positivity and clarity with it. And so if you can sell it to a client like that, I think actually they understand, and most clients, most corporate clients understand that litigation is a cost of business, and business to progress has to go through those stages. So
That's great. My third question is, how did you secure your first legal role?
through immense hard work, I gave up Easter's, summers, Christmases, half terms when I was at university. I went and worked in citizens' advice centres, chambers. I shadowed barristers. I worked in law firms. I basically gave up my free time as much as I could in order to sort of understand which areas of law I wanted to work in, what sort of was I better doing advocacy? Did I enjoy that more? Was I better with clients? All those sorts of things. And then just real hard work. I wrote numerous, in fact, hundreds of applications. I even went abroad when I finished my first law degree, worked abroad free of charge. Came back, just grafted. I joined lots of firms as paralegals and moved and did different areas and then sort of just carried on working, went abroad again, and then just came back and I actually worked for one firm and then I swapped to a firm that was an opponent on a matter, and that was it really. Look, it's hard work and perseverance, frankly.
That was a next level dedication for you from your side. What do you think? What skill matters the most in your commercial litigation area?
Um, well, patience and the ability to think and apply tactics. Look, litigation is about arguing, but it's about tactics. It's about working out what evidence you've got to support the arguments. It's working out what the other side might have to support their arguments. It's working out, um, how you're going to apply the law to the evidence, and generally how well you perceive your clients will do under cross-examination. I've seen many clients that you would think on paper would be really strong, and they get into the witness box and they crumble. And the opposite happens. So again, look, all of that comes down to kind of the point that I made earlier about negotiations and disappointments for clients. And look, what you have to perceive overall as a lawyer is the risk factor, the prospects factor, that the sort of how your client will fare under what is a very stressful scenario, whether it's a day, an hour, or a couple of weeks for trial. And you have to put all of that together. So I think you have to have the ability to think and have patience and apply the law, and just it's a little bit of luck as well. It's all of those things, and I think anybody that tells you otherwise is probably fooling themselves.
That's amazing. My last question from you is what is one advice that you would like to give all the young lawyers that are entering in the legal profession?
uh Perseverance, really. Look, getting into law is very, very tough. It's been that way since certainly since I was studying, and that's a very long time ago. um I know it's not easy to give up time to you know do what I did, because living costs, and not everybody has supportive parents or is able to have supportive parents or whatever. So the thing that I would say is to try and do as much as you can. See if you can get experience in citizens advice centres. See if you can do work placements in law firms. See if you can shadow barristers. But I would go and sit in court and see how the parties conduct themselves in court, and try and speak to people, read case law, make yourself stand out in what is a very competitive market. um and just, it's perseverance. Look, it is tough, it is genuinely, but if you can do it and you can do all of those things to get your experience, then that helps you stand out, and that's really the key thing. Look, everybody that's read a law degree is obviously very clever. Everybody that's done the LPC or the BBC or whatever it is obviously very clever. You've got to make yourself stand out, and what you think you might like as law, you may not. And in my experience, it's very hard to swap disciplines. So as a junior lawyer, I suppose you've got the benefit, if you kind of seeing a criminal law trial, speaking to criminal barristers, doing, shadowing a corporate and mergers lawyer, maybe doing a property transaction. There's lots and lots of different ways of being able to find out what sort of lawyer you are. And I appreciate that as a junior, you're not necessarily going to know, but if you don't have the experience of doing all those things, you don't know really. I was quite fortunate that I always knew I wanted to be a contentious lawyer. I just didn't know what kind of contentious law I wanted to do. So I've been fortunate enough to work in large enough firms where I've had the ability to sort of do insolvency and IP. What I've done over the last 26 years is hone all of those abilities and all the people that I've learned from, and keep going forwards. And I think that that's a really important thing for junior lawyers, is that you continue to learn from the people you're exposed to, whether you have a week's shadowing of somebody or a day's, or you're fortunate enough to get a paralegal position or whatever, just constantly take the guidance that you get from more experienced practitioners and wrap them up into yourself. And that's how you'll do it. And look, in the law, you just continue to evolve every day. You have to. You just have to.
Well, more of hard work and guidance can actually take you to places where most of the time you need to go in order to be successful. Yeah,
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, you've got to have a willingness to learn and grow and develop, and you've got to put in the graft. Like I can teach you how to draft something properly. I can teach you what the law says, but if you're not willing to do it yourself and you're not willing to learn and put in the effort to expand your own knowledge, I can't teach that. That's not going to work. That has to come from you. That has to be your own desire, that your own ambition, because you're the master of your own destiny. So, if you don't step up and do those things as a junior, you're never going to do it, and the law's not really a career for you, in my view. And I know that sounds harsh, but you can only be taught so much. It's the same. It will have been the same throughout everybody's schooling and college and university. They will have achieved what they achieved based on the work that they put in. And the law, as a trainee and as a paralegal and moving up, is the same. You can be taught how to draft. You can taught how to deal with clients, but if you don't put that effort in, it's it's just not going to happen, I'm afraid.
I completely agree. It was an honor to have you, Shal, with us. Thank you so much for being a part of Mishal's Law Series. Thank you all for watching. Bye.
No problem. Take care. Bye.